Praise to Shakyamuni Buddha. To the founder, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the founder, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the founder, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. When, O Supreme amongst humans, you were born on this earth, you paced out 7 strides, then said, I am supreme in this world. To you who were wise then, I prostrate. With pure bodies, form supremely pure, wisdom ocean like a golden mountain, flame that blazes in the 3 worlds, winner of the best, Lord, to you I prostrate. With the supreme signs, face like spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. Thus free like you, the 3 worlds are not. Incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The Saviour having great compassion, the Founder having all understanding, the field of mirror with qualities like a vast ocean, to you, the one gone to thusness, I prostrate. The purity that frees one from attachment, the virtue that frees one from the lower realms, the one path, the sublime reality, to the Dharma that pacifies, I prostrate. Those who are liberated and who also show the path to liberation, the wholly feel qualified with realizations, who are devoted to the moral precepts. To you, the sublime community intending virtue, I prostrate. Homage to the Supreme Buddha, homage to the Dharma refuge, homage to the great Sangha, to all 3 ever devout homage, to all worthy of respect, bowing with bodies as many as all realms atoms in all aspects. With supreme faith I pay homage. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions. Perform only perfect virtuous actions. Subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a visual aberration, a flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud. See conditioned things as such. Through these merits may sentient beings attain the rank of all-seeing, subdue the foe of faults, and be delivered from samsara's ocean, perturbed by the waves of aging, sickness, and death. Page 15. The Heart of the Perfection of Wisdom Sutra. I prostrate to the Arya Triple Gem. Thus did I hear at one time. The Bhagawan was dwelling on massive Vulture's mountain in Rajagriha, together with a great community of monks and a great community of bodhisattvas. At that time, the Bhagawan was absorbed in the concentration on the categories of phenomena called profound perfection. Also at that time, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara looked upon the very practice of the profound perfection of wisdom, and beheld those 5 aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Then, through the power of Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra said this to the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara. How should any son of the lineage train who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom? He said that, and the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara said this to the Venerable Sharadvatiputra. Shariputra, any son of the lineage or daughter of the lineage who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom should look upon it like this, correctly and repeatedly beholding those 5 aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form. Form is also not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, likewise, all phenomena are emptiness, without characteristic, unproduced, unceased, stainless, not without stain, not deficient, not fulfilled. Shariputra, therefore, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visual form, no sound, no odor, no taste, no object of touch, and no phenomenon. There is no I element, and so on, up to and including no mind element, and no mental consciousness element. There is no ignorance, no extinction of ignorance, and so on, up to and including no aging and death, and no extinction of aging and death. Similarly, there is no suffering, origination, cessation, and path. There is no exalted wisdom, no attainment, and also no non-attainment. Shariputra, therefore, because there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and dwell in the perfection of wisdom, the mind without obscuration and without fear. Having completely passed beyond error, they reach the end point of nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times also manifestly completely awaken, responsible, perfect, complete enlightenment, in reliance on the perfection of wisdom. Therefore, the mantra of the perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, the unsurpassed mantra, the mantra equal to the unequaled, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering, should be known as truth, since it is not false. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is declared. Tayata gate gate paragate parasamgate bodhisoha. Shariputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, should train in the profound perfection of wisdom like that. Then the Bhagavan arose from that concentration and commended the Bodhisattva Arya Avalokiteshvara, saying, well said, son of the lineage, it is like that, it is like that. One should practice the profound perfection of wisdom just as you have indicated, even the Tathagatas rejoice. The Bhagavan having thus spoken, the Venerable Sharadvatiputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara, those surrounding in their entirety along with the world of gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas, were overjoyed and highly praised that spoken by the Bhagavan. Page 25. Sa shi puki chuk sheng mei chok tra ma ri rab lin xin yi dai gan pa di san ge shing du mi te hua yi chok nan dak shin la chok pa shok je sun la ma dam pa ki nam ki chok ka la hien se chen jik ne ji ta tsam pe du che zin ma la Sabye chöki chapa baptu so idam guru ratna mandalakam niryatayami. Changi chonam la chengchu badhu dagni kepsu chi dagi chunyengi pesonam ki jola pinchis.
Sanje Jodan Saje Janan La Chanjo Bada Dani Jasan Dage Chujin Jive Sonam Ji Dola Benje Sanje Dovraj Sanje Jodan Saje Janan La Chanjo Bada Dani Jasan Dage Chujin Jive Sonam Ji Dola Benje Sanje Dovraj Kange de de nye zave dawa danje bangwa nye dambe shine de zave gudan de la cha zave. Do nye nye je zan de je me lan je je zan de gan je den de gan chana be mo de de je zo la so wa de zo shin de lan do shi. Ban de zave la ma ram ba je da ki ji bro be me de je ne ko de je me ko ne je zan. Ko zan do je ngo do de de so ah da ng ku long kom
So first we'll do a motivation meditation. Everybody should be familiar with that, so we don't need to explain it.
다 가보고 다 이제 루리코 다 럽존치 유튜브 총어디 개와 상관이 상태인가.
So now rejoice. Having this opportunity to study awareness and knowledge is incredibly fortunate, and we should feel very joyful about that.
아야 다 기생 마당 거 참아 내종 무슨 게 또야 그 유타임이다고 시스템이 다디 또야 유라 아니 가상 그다음에 가상 그다음에 라고 무슨 또 내종 가상 그다음에 탐문 무슨 도 내종 무슨 시제다 디디시 유디시 예스로.
Okay, so we're having looked at a yogic direct perception. There's examples of these like a yogic direct perception, Nalja Nonsum, right? Direct valid perception, sorry. Yogic direct perception, that's right. Gitsema. Okay, so valid direct yogic perception. Prime cognizer, yogic direct prime cognizer, it's translated here. Sorry. Yogic direct prime cognizer, as we looked at last week. We'll get there eventually. As we looked at last week, this is on page 18. So it can realize various objects like impermanence or selflessness or so forth, and it can realize gross selflessness or subtle selflessness. So, maybe we explain this object a little bit.
가상 다음에 락바 타라 단대값이 셔야지. 남배게 둡다. 뭐란주와 면제로 지라모 또대와 쓴다고 뭐란주와 디제게다. 가상 다음에 타라 돼야 돼. 어디게 했어. 여와디 가상 다음에 라고 타모디 했어.
Oh, okay. So when we talk about gross and subtle selflessness of a person, then that varies for the various tenet systems of the Great Exposition, the Sutra, the Mind Only, and the Middle Way School. So we'll look at it for these tenet systems.
다디 도스레 당보디 가사담에 락바셔야디 단다 따지로한지 그게 또 가사담에로 다디 tak지로한디 나도디레 다 나도 두슬람나 두슬람나 야문다 나도 베나 마라조 미나레 다 전도이나레 상말로라 담아 가상게 당지들라 아니 당지 현재당 당지 군다스 디즈니 거로 다 당고 당지 현재디 기지셔나 야고면 다 삼노단다로 기지셔나로 angin 그나가도 삼단디 나스 삼단디 나스 디나스 삼단디 아니 풍보당 저메 풍보라 완주어 보다베 풍보라 저메 풍보라 완주어 보다베 네 전신도직 근데직 먼저 정말로 요레스티 디 요레 삼 짐바이나 디 당질 현지레스 당디 당디다 당질 현지레스 당는으로
Innate, okay. So first, when we look at the gross selflessness, so an example of this would be yeah. So a gross example of gross selflessness of a person would be being free from being singular, permanent, and independent. but if you think about it a bit more, like there's humans and animals, and all of us have this self-grasping, right? So there's two types of self-grasping. We have this kind of innate self-grasping, or this like philosophical self-grasping or generated self-grasping. So looking at the innate self-grasping, like when we have this thought or this feeling that there's some self, I, separate from the aggregates, that is like a controller or an owner or controller of the aggregates. That is kind of this innate self-grasping. Sorry. Okay. So this innate self-grasping is this self-supporting. It's like this thought of the self-supporting, substantially existent self, and this grasping at that could be said to be the innate self-grasping. Yeah. And we all have this. We all grasp onto this. Yeah, we all believe in this. So yeah, we all, if we have this feeling or this kind of sense that there's something separate from our aggregates that's like an owner and a controller and this sort of thing. Like if we all have this belief or this feeling, this innate kind of grasping, if we look at it. So, like an example would be if somebody says something to us like, you're a bad person or you're stupid or something like that, right? We immediately get this feeling like, I'm not bad, I'm not stupid, I'm super smart, I'm awesome. We all kind of have this way of thinking, right? Like we all have these kind of feelings. So this is this kind of grasping that we have. 양적 다 군다 줍대 로단 다디 줍달 줍다 켈레니 힌두 줍다 켈레니 메시지게 군다디 요 말다 So kind of behind or beyond that, we have this kind of like this this feeling that this self behind that. There's this kind of permanent, singular, and and it's like literally self-empowered. It's translated often as independent, but literally means self-empowered. Self, and this is something that Hindu philosophies believe in. They have this kuntak is this generated sense of self that is permanent, singular, and independent. Hindu ke la angmas lagdo dan issue ke je dan soul laj lagdo da o dire da issue chu kelenya je ke soul laj kelengre message ke nganzo nangba ke soul yo mare sig do issue ke chu je na o soul yo re sig do
tita dubde issue dubde onga chungso ade. If you dubda kele nyele meshiji this soli yuwa di yiji chinyi jimba di yo marta.
So this, to give an example of this generated self-grasping, like it would be this example of the Hindu system who have this Atma, but also this soul, right? Like this singular, permanent, singular, and independent. So the Atma or the soul would be examples of that. Now, this is something that, not everybody believes in. It's not an innate feeling that we all have. It's basically people who follow this particular religion or philosophy believe in either the soul or the Atma, right? Like people outside of that don't hold on to that. So it shows that this is like a philosophically generated sense of self.
다 디간라 아니 디간라 다 언제 다 디간라 양자는 몇 잡자 그러 언제 다 언제 말한테 미스스 다 나야 보여 아니 나 어좀 이즈다 나 아니 녀다 셔지 다 언제 디서 왜라 다 디가 다 대야 보여 perfectly 인텐데드 아니 강에 쉽지 디간 레기 어다 다 자워라 어디다 매든 저징 어디 딘데게 어다
So, behind this is all this feeling, or beyond this comes this feeling of, I'm good and I'm super awesome and, like this kind of sense of self. This creates a lot of difficulties for us. This creates a lot of sufferings. This feeling that we have this self or that we're awesome.
문에 팅합니다. 그러나 지워두고다. 딱과이나다. 야보다 문에시나 딱과이나 지가요 말이 지워둬야 말봐. 아니 가서 수수 개베 동에 지고야입니다. 나 개도고도 나라 링고 망고도 다 나라 들어 나라 로게데 당아 레스트 하우스나 도구메 동에디 지고야입니다. 그거 딱과라.
So, unfortunately, we're not permanent, right? This is the first thing we have to realize. Because we are constantly changing. If we're permanent, it would be pretty cool because then you wouldn't have to worry about a lot of things that we have to deal with. Like you wouldn't have to worry about getting older, going to a rest home, running out of money, all of these sorts of things. You wouldn't have to worry. If you were happy, you'd just always be happy. So if we were permanent, things would be a lot easier, but we're not. So we have to be aware of that. So in reality, we're actually changing moment by moment. So we need to be aware of that. So when we recognize that, that removes the sense of permanence, and then we realize we're impermanent.
규제는 메데 라운드 투어티 요마리 규제는 메데 버지 요마리 다 규제는 떼버리 라디 규제는 메데 라운드 킥도 요라
라 메테베
규제는 메데 라운드 규제는 떼네 투로다 규제는 떼네 투어다 하고 요인데 다 규제는 메데 라운드 민독스다 제주니와데
So how do we change? We change moment by moment, right? And why? Why do we change? Because we change independent on causes and conditions. So this singular, unitary, and independent self is separated, is viewed as separate from these causes and conditions, right? So if we actually see that we're dependent on change, we change dependent on these causes and conditions, then that eliminates that sense of self. You had a question? No?
What?
I thought somebody put their hand up, but I'm wrong. No, maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, maybe the snow's blinded me. It's like snow blind.
You see the Tara behind. That dine 다 가서 디 풍부다 차시 망고실을 다 차시를 메데베 직보의 민도스로 이상은 코드고라다.
So then, of course, we look at these aggregates as compositional, right, made up of many parts, and so then this eliminates being singular or unitary, because it's a composition. Like So that eliminates that aspect of this
진리다 데
gross
간산
grasping.
다음에 작바데 다티리 간산 딱지 로한지 동안서라 지상 나디 다나 미다고도나 나 미다고도 또스나나 아니 간산 다음에 작고도 켜고 왔다.
Okay, so this is an illustration of the gross level of self-grasping, right? It's the singular, independent, and unitary. Permanent. So when you realize when you realize subtle impermanence, then automatically you have to realize gross selflessness of the person.
다데 다음에 참모 다음에 간산 다음에 참모도 또 가고요.
So that it's actually quite tricky to realize the subtle selflessness of a person.
그래서 나타 땡한저 데 미다고래서 땡한저 상로대에서 교도고래라들 삼단되고 그래서 다데 미다고래서 삼나.
네.
다데 풍불의 텐션 완전 다 풍불을 컨트롤치니기 본부도 요 말을라노 다 단지 상황에서 본부들 잡죠 되라. 본부라고 저러다 본부로 완전 보딩한저 본부로 왔다. 본부하고 포스트
okay. 방법 본부는 여러분 okay.
저거들 개본나시 킹덤.
라라라.
당어서 딜레 잡도지 디 가도이나 데 신제데도 데요 말을라나 이제 지금 말아봤다.
Okay. So like why is it more difficult? Because if we think about it, at least logically, we can sort of see, oh yeah, okay, things are momentary changing, right? Like, this is conceptually we can grasp onto that. We're realizing it may be more difficult, but conceptually we can understand it, right? However, when somebody sort of says to us, there's, talking about subtle selflessness, it's very hard for us to let go of this idea of this, this controller, like this king or this boss that sort of controls us. And, that kind of thinking is very difficult for us to come to terms with.
미망보라 아니 다음에 고민도 다데 매와 하고 있는데 아니 신나리고 직달리고
Dramas. Yeah. So when many people meditate on this subtle selflessness, that's why they get a lot of fear, right? A lot of kind of uncontrolled fear coming up because it's very challenging to understand this.
어디요 말해서 되라 아니 간사라지 다데 지단 되려야 데지 코로나상세를 디요로 셰 다시 먹어셔와 다 질을 갈래클레 그런다적으로 하다 이거마 저런도 디톨에 하고 신경도 나서 디 사마코스 시간을 빼야고도 여러데 디 야고니기나 그거든요 디 빼야고 여러.
So don't want to go into too much more detail about the different divisions of these selflessnesses and different ways they come about and all of this type of thing, right? This is something that you, just through studying, you'll come to learn more and more about it. But if you're actually interested, then if you do the summer course.
We have summer course recording, Eddie. Content. Yes, very good. Jerry, summer course, mama. Summer course,
summer course?
No. I think year before we had this first year in Umajugo, Midway. We talked this. We already have recording. You can listening. There's more detail. Other did was it. That in it down the Muslim Dana Shigindaro.
Okay, so that's enough about this object of the yogic direct prime cognizer. So we'll go on to this facsimile of a direct perceiver.
무슨 단나 라이드
갈아오르잖아. facsimile.
아니 랑가나유를 투베리 보셔봐. 무슨 단나 라이드가. 또 주시도 상말에 주시 상방 무슨 단나 시고 있다.
So the definition, this is the bottom of page 18. I don't know if everybody has the same number on the book, but on my one. Anyway, the definition is a knower which is mistaken with regards to its appearing object. And this facsimile of a direct perceiver and mistaken consciousness are synonymous. Konsanyi tonche gro.
Koda.
Trushetan nasantana. Yeah.
다 제자다나 페나도 페나라오지 라비나. 가리 뭐나 영원시도 지랍시로.
So an example of this is a sense power sensory consciousness perceiving a blue snow mountain.
일단 네 가로를 투르스나 랑나유 가로스나 가로를 투르와 가리 딩원에서나 가리 가도디 까오로와 이나야다 네 가리 까불을 투르라네 네 가리를 투르나 쥐어 말아 다디 가리 까오디 가도디 ngombo mayenshidi ngombo narota ngombo cheta tile tuisonata
So how is it mistaken? It's mistaken to its object. So you could say that the object, you can say that it's this snow mountain, because the color of a snow mountain in reality is white. So you can either say it's mistaken towards a white snow mountain or it's mistaken towards the snow mountain. Either one is fine, but this is what makes it a mistaken consciousness, because it's misperceiving its object.
어디라다 생이지지 다들 예와들 균샤도 다 예월 마도나 셉셉도 그래다로
So then there's 7 divisions, and if we go through each of these, this would be quite good.
예라야다 균유데스 또봉우숨 다난 툭 또맹우숨 다난 직 요레스다
So there's 6 conceptual and 1 non-conceptual facsimile of a direct perceiver.
다 똑발라야 가려고 그래서는 땅에서 데레 이거 단다 사무단다 당기 니군 칼라 가르사이로 란지 가르사이로 단다 세미나를 샤된 주스도 가 당기 사무이스다미 가 강아지 직사이 비자 사이 매매네 하면은 커피 통이 하면은 메도로 통해서 당기 니군도
와 메도
메도 클라와 세미나를 샤되기도 하다
메도 니군 칼락사
메도 세미나를 샤르기도 하다
Oh, okay, sorry. Okay. That was strange.
메도 니군 칼라서
well, some nonsense like it salad no. In Chandrakirti can suffer mara.
Chandrakirti 드링 Chandrakirti 칼라요 마. 나 메도 칼라 민두 드링.
So I'll just explain. Like when you recollect something, when you remember it, this is all a mistaken consciousness. Like if you remember what you had for lunch, like a sandwich or rice and dal or pizza. It's conceptual, tokpa, conceptual. And a conceptual consciousness is necessarily mistaken consciousness. And then Geshe-la was talking about flowers, and he said a flower appears, but I thought he said he ate a flower for lunch. And he says, what do you mean you don't eat flowers for lunch? And I say, we do at Chandrakirti.
But today I don't have. Maybe someone have a Buddha. Do you cook salad with the flower? Okay.
Just snuck it in there.
What the imagine what the Shanghai to talk about?
So this, anything you imagine, like a flower or whatever it might be, this is automatically conceptual and therefore mistaken. So tokpa yina trusha yin bikab. Okay, mistaken, but loksha yin bimakab, bro. Okay, yeah, okay, it's necessarily mistaken. I want to. Okay, they will stop there. Yeah, so if it's conceptual, it has to be a mistaken consciousness. So when you reach Buddhahood, you don't have conceptual consciousness. Yeah, everything's direct perception.
Okay, so then
we're just listing off the first 6 conceptual facsimiles of direct perception exist because they are mistaken conception, conventional conception, inferential conception, conception arising from inference, memory conception, and wishing conception. Inferential conception and conception arising from inference.
That's in but as Tangbodi, Data was in better was at Dadi Midawara. Inako, that dog was in better was. That did what did that did it?
So the first one, a thought apprehending sound as permanent. So sound is not permanent, it's impermanent, but the conceptually apprehending sound is permanent. Any impermanent phenomena, any physical phenomena like a cup or whatever, apprehending that as permanent is necessarily mistaken conception. Mistaken consciousness. True share. Sorry, mistaken consciousness.
다드네 군소비 도바다 제바 딘데 군다니 니바디 담이다데 제바 라도와.
Okay, and then the second one is an inferential cognizer which realized sound to be impermanent. That is a mistaken conception.
다디 제바디 제라 나도메 제바 티메티니단 로고다 티디.
So we'll look at inferential cognizers and inferential valid cognizers and prime cognizers later. It comes up. I think it's the next topic.
다디 제 디네 단다 디 페진리 다든다 디 숨바디 담다디 베제바.
Which is a mind apprehension.
디 제일 랍셔너리 다디 디네마 다저 니와 숨바 시와디게디 제일랑에 랍셔나 야서레.
Okay, so the second, the third, and the fourth one will go over later, right? They'll come up later.
그래서나 매 제바체메 친이 쇼그바 아니 당고 제바체만 간데 신스나 아니 내 제바체만 똑바디 간데 이미 되셔 잡나.
Right.
페진디 야고도.
So first, it'd be better to go through the definition of inferential valid cognizer, and then explain how that comes about, and then you kind of can understand the various types of it. So that will come in the next topic.
당어디 디로와다 템베 똑바서 들어와 템베 똑바. 템베 똑바서 돼 드링 뒤에서 대베 템베 똑바. 당은저 똑바 마샤 디레다. 대베 된다만 고쇼 체인지 셈나라 마 지직 체서 니니 체서 다디 셈나라 케제 대딩이도 다 단당한 저게 미망고 쇼 지금 배 홀링 쇼 제대로다 다디 드링 디레다 템베 똑바서다.
So the fifth one is a thought which remembers an object of the past. So this is just remembering the past, and that's most of our actual conceptual carry-on is thinking about the past, right? We're constantly going on and on, thinking on and on about the past. So, this is a very common type of thought.
다디 야고도 드링디스 대베 템템발라데 제단다. 뭐네시나 대버스도 다 칭차올라 그러와. 칭차올라는 다 차차로와. 다 이는 아주 셈나라 양자 텐데고 그러와죠.
So, even though the past is gone, it's done, we still constantly think and hold on to it and think about it, right?
예, 저랑저디 세우다 미카시에게 다 계자 되나치 그냥 나도인다 나데 로글리고라 단도 로글레 단도 계자 찍바 시에 되거든 로글지레 단도 샤기요 말냐 되거든
New Zealand lolly.
아데 로글도고라 미카시에 당부도 계자 시에거든 찍바 단도 줘도면다 찍봐야지.
So I arrived here in New Zealand 9 years ago. And 9 years later, I'm still thinking about exactly the same things, right? Like 9 years later, I'm still going on about the same things, right? So, even people say different things to me, I still seem to think about the same stuff. So it's a bit.
And some people exactly same all the time talking same like that, and they all the time, criticize other people, blah 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 blah. Exactly the same, no changing. 세상에서 나는 쌤디 받아가나 대tum나 나도 주주시오 직 셉치도다. 쌤디 대회가나 싫어 로사나 주주시오 돌아도다라다 돌아도라 펜도마다.
If we were able to keep our mind in the present moment, we'd have a lot more time, get a lot more done, and be a lot more happier. But because we've sort of spent so much time thinking about the past, we waste a lot of time and energy on this.
아데 네 투바데 ngom바데 가서 내가 언제 있어야 돼 드링 뒤에서 마음배 태는 저런데 로디티 같은 게.
So then the next is thoughts about the future. So thinking about what you're going to do with all that money that you get when you win the lottery is probably one of these.
다 이나야 내 마음과 어떤 차시인데 차시 밀레 펜더에 왔다 그래서 매제게 차시 때때 수상 당구다로.
Right. So I mean, of course we have to look at how we can help others and how we can improve ourselves and positive things we can do. So it's we need to think about these things in a valid way.
다드네 니와 다 동명무슨 다나스러와 동명무슨 다나들라다 망고요레스러와.
Okay, then there are many non-conceptual facsimiles of a direct perceiver.
다 당보들라 이시스교에 아니 직당 원시스교 니샤와 이시데체 same thing.
Okay. So then there's two types of these. There's mental consciousness and sense consciousness. So the sense consciousnesses are the five of smell, taste, touch, hearing, sight. And then the sixth one is the sixth consciousness, the mental consciousness. Sorry, the second one is the sixth consciousness, the mental consciousness.
But then la tangbo chin kon de xie xin la da mi se ge se bu xin ni ma so de sha na de pe na chin xi de sha na de kon la sha da sha mi de pe na ding yin jin gom je ding yin jin gom mi du ba gom ani sa xi chang ma gen ru yi chao zhen be lo chi do
La 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 la.
de sha na de
Right. So direct receive which is sense consciousnesses. So if we want an illustration of the first one, because I don't think there's one in here, but anyway, an illustration of the first one, this mental consciousness, it would be the mistaken one, a truche or a facsimile of a direct perceiver, would be when you meditate on calm abiding, right? Like when you've developed calm abiding, you meditate on the suffering nature of things, and the whole environment around you appears to be filled with skeletons. This would be this example of a mental, non-conceptual facsimile of a mental perceiver.
어디로? 대 요래. 다 근데 요래다. 근데 망고 요래. 배나. 내가 같이 먼저 다 배진도 더 샤죠 그래. 이거 되자요라 되자. 이제 되자 타지면. 되자 샤죠. 되자 샤. 컨트롤 샤죠. 와, 시당 샤죠. 계진실.
Okay, so these negative emotions such as attachment, anger, jealousy, and so forth, these would also be examples of this non-conceptual facsimile of a direct mental perceiver. Mental consciousness, sorry. And for the sense consciousnesses, there are four examples.
투주 땡라 요와 서와 투주 땡라 요와 투주 내라 요와 투주 유라 요와 투주 대마타진라 요와 시체라.
So these four divisions are the cause of error existing in the basis, in the abode, in the object, and in the immediately preceding condition.
다 당보디 투주 땡라 요와데 미그라리그스나 배나가서 미도 스tirje 네 로르다나 로 니숨 통고다.
Right.
어디르다.
So the first, and well, I'll just read it. For example, the eye impaired by an obscuring disease for a sense consciousness which sees one moon as two is produced in dependence upon that. So basically, if you have, I don't know, some eye disease that causes you to see two moons instead of one, that's an example of.
가시에게 네 동거다 미 잡리 제디 네 가시에게 수시 영마 통해진다 용거다. 수시 퍼버직 퍼버니 통해들래. 미그라 기생영아 데데 런지 먼저 런진나 아마가 통상 아메 미디 미그데레지기 주구직 니들도
yeah, so sometimes this can happen. I mean, normally I don't know if there's a disease does it, but I know if you get concussion, like bang your head, people can see one cup as two. Or, he just said his mother used to have this problem. They'd hold up one finger and she'd see two fingers.
투지내려 요하지. 다 투지내려 요하세요. 니와디 투지내려 요하세요. 투지내려 요하다. 주슈부터 위해서 텔레데네 준신도 왔으나 나도 이러다 투징 나라도나 아니 투징 나라도 예용의 신디제도 도와주나. 되나 먼저 모다단도 도다 강보도도 수수 도고야데 강보도도 되는데 어디라.
So the second one is sitting on a boat for a sense consciousness which sees trees as moving is produced in dependence on that. So this is obviously, this text was written a while ago. you know, where people used to cruise around in boats. Nowadays we tend to drive cars, and you can see to your eye consciousness the objects appear to be moving, right? The trees appear to be moving, the houses appear to be moving.
Yeah, yeah. Funny, you know, and first Arab in India and in Delhi to in Bangalore, we got 3 days in the train. The train go very fast. We got looks thinking, you know, house, and a mountain and trees. Everything looks moving, you know. And we Arab in Bangalore, and we go out the live in the train. And our house moving. I'm sitting there, house moving. Do you have some experience like that? Do you have some experience? Because yes, 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 yes. I have this very strong, very clear data.
Yeah.
Oh, house moving, and I thought, man, that is someone take me. Oh, house moving. He said, we need a little bit to sit down here, maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes, sit down here, maybe cup of tea, you know, and slowly, in the house, slow machine. uh, uh. Yes, they did it. I'm 주기 유래 주기 내려요. 주기 내려요. 주기 유래요. 왔다. somebody say again. 다단데 데려다 주기 따뜻 가르다. somebody 주기 유래요. 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 다 개미 뉴드 거 왔다. 텔라데네 개미 빼나. 다들 뮤직 타고 maybe 또 꼬라 잡나 매직 꼬라 잡대요 나시나 이나 매직 레요 말아 어디에다 주기 유래요.
So then the third, which is the cause of an error existing in the object, is, for example, a quick whirling firebrand for a sense consciousness sees the firebrand as wheels produced dependent on that. I mean, you know, you've all seen this, like fire poise or whatever, when you spin them around quickly, it appears as a circle, right? But of course that's just a mistaken perception.
We were young, we lot play this one. Do you play this? Put one special ball, put candle, and then we run like that, and lots of fire like that, and then maybe 10 kids do like that. Very nice. We were young, we do lots play, and especially before Happy New Year. At that time, parents very upset because very dry and sometimes fires danger, you know. And all parents, you know, don't do that. And then especially at Sarah, Lamatonga was this day. We lost a young man too like that. In India, they have some very nice, some similar pumpkin, and one like that dry, and they're holding and then put in the candle and cause and making loads around, and then do like that looks loads the light is shining, you know. And sometimes they're making animal shape, sometimes making star shape. They're showing, you know, play, young man loves play, etc. 어디지? 다디네 다 시버디 이 시단이 쪽부터 위해서 텔라데네 다 그래서나 시버디 다 주기 테마타긴래 요서로 테마타긴 미긴 타긴
라라라 테마타긴 로이래
테마타긴 이 시단이 쪽네 이라 시단 컨트롤 쪽 텔라데네 에 사시마우 줘로 와미 Right.
So then, you know, the immediately fault in the immediately preceding condition is, for example, a mind disturbed by hatred for a sense consciousness sees the earth as red, is produced in dependence on that. So, if you're really angry, you actually can perceive things as red. I mean, we have that saying, I see red.
제가 다 디네 다 딜라다 또미 로시 또미 무슨 따나 내가 세나지 시원나 왠지 또미 로시 사야다 되다 가리 간공부다니 간공부 나오잖아 진스나나 원시 간공네 원시디 또미 로시래 와 다직 다니 나와디 또미 로시래 어디서 또미 로시 사야돼.
So a non-conceptual wrong consciousness, a non-conceptual facsimile of a direct perceiver, and a consciousness that is the clear appearance of non-existence are synonymous. The non-conceptual wrong consciousness would be like seeing one moon as two moons, and gongring on board, and seeing this blue snow mountain. These types of things are said to be non-conceptual wrong consciousnesses.
인터넷 다 동맹 무슨 단어서도 시험하지. 매번 세나진지 시험하서도 매번 세나진지 있음. 저는 가는 공부 여 말아. 가는 공부 매시는 가는 공부 나와. 다원이 매시는 다원이 나와. 다 어디래 매번 세나.
So then the non-conceptual facsimile of the direct perceiver, we've already just gone over this. So a consciousness that is a clear appearance of a non-existent phenomenon. It's like seeing two moons. There's not two moons, there's only one. Seeing a blue snow mountain, there's no blue snow mountain, there's a white snow mountain. So this is like having a clear appearance of a consciousness having a clear appearance of a non-existent phenomena.
어디지? 다디네 니 디링 단데 시에버디나네 당 아람즈 뒤윤 수수 소어가 나라도 출시당 그래서 아니 야고지 시험이나 네 좋아 상상랑도 수수 공부 추제네 추제다
왕벌 출시
다 그러나 가나 추베 왕게다 이용거와 유베나 베나 디라워스 라브샤나 상상한테 다원이 나와다 아와칭나 도스다 라고라고라 근데 내가 타르탄다나 아는 거저 딱고 나오나시 딱서 미다고 템퍼처나 다도 나오나시 다도 진 추도고요 나와 잠라다 견 연구 말이다 진배이나 아니 다 강인 상모디 되게요다.
So how then is this mistaken consciousness? Like, how does it affect our daily life? Well, we often perceive things in this mistaken way. We hold on to things in a mistaken way. So, of course, like seeing two moons is a very gross example, right, of a mistaken consciousness. However, like when you dig into it a bit deeper, like this grasp itself, holding things to be permanent, or this self-grasping, all of this is mistaken consciousnesses. So, of course, these things will appear to us, but appearance is not the problem. The problem is when you actually hold on to that.
다데 베나 약쇼데 가르스나 저 셈도 공제 다다데 데베네지 셈나 샤용도 셈 바 이지도 마체 디추 마디나 줘요 말에 그래서 남바 샤용이나 그래서 단다 데블로그이나래 야 공작이나래 밀게제셰기나래 셈디 디간라 데토나 콜람산도 그래 디간라 셈쇼나 아니 간다 다다와데 제도고요 다 간다 어디래다 내가
So, in our experience, right, if we can keep our mind in the present moment, this is really beneficial. And then, and then you don't grasp onto things so much, but we're always sort of thinking in our head, like always, and regurgitating the past and so forth. And this makes it very difficult to stay in the present moment.
다디나네 단다 저 출시 있어야 돼. 능률을 추버서 라서 데데 세우셔비나 아니 야고요다.
So what we're mistaken to is we're mistaken to the appearing object.
다베나 당이 다와니나베 원시데 능유 가르스나 다와샤나리 다와직샤나리 디니샤나.
Okay. So to give an example, right, the appearing object to a eye consciousness seeing two moons, the appearing object is, you can say moon or you can say one moon. Either that's fine. Either one's fine.
투사 딜라 투르다. 디 다와디 찍디 니드 나와.
Right.
다와 찍래요 말와.
No.
다와 찍디 고낭유로 나야 유더와.
Right.
다디 다와디 찍래 요마르들레 테바 니나라다. 아니 그 투르라다.
Yeah. So the mistake comes because we can say that the Nangyal, the appearing object, is one moon because there's only one moon, but the perception is of two moons, right? So you've got this perception of two moons where there's only one moon, and that's why it's said to be mistaken.
다딜라 나유라 투 다와나레 딜라 다와나레와 다와나레 다와나네 다와 찍만나바체 다와 찍도 만나바체 다와 찍디 다와 니도 나와인자 아니 투르와 다와도 그래.
Okay, so the one moon appears, right? And there is only one moon, but when one moon appears as two moons, that's when it becomes a mistaken consciousness.
아베나 단다 가능오문에 원시디 나유 가르라스나 강리들이.
Right. So when we talk about the appearing object of our eye consciousness perceiving a blue snow mountain, you can say that the appearing object is Gangri, snow mountain.
다디 강리 나로 강리 나요인데 딱 강리디 가도 까보디 만나면 제제 아니 수수다 가시 강리 세고 나거로 다 가는 거면 해야 되는 거 배진디 믹스 잡셔는 다다자.
So what happens is the snow mountain's appearing, right? But we're apprehending it a white snow mountain as a blue snow mountain. So we've mistaken towards the color. Now, more probably people can see a yellow snow mountain. I think the only way you can see a blue snow mountain is if you put on like those blue blockers they used to sell,
근데 미 투어로 투어하고라 전디스 와 투어.
True. Okay.
투어가 나가 숙청부 요나 아니 가도 까보도 세부 통부.
Right. So if you have a strong case of jaundice, then white color can appear as yellow.
Yeah.
Why is this defined as a facsimile of direct perception? This seems like it's just a wrong consciousness, just like the other end of the spectrum.
So why is this the true share mara the lokshare because so karachini the lokshi dawara
럭시로.
so then the karachini the true share.
알레요. 인지기 뒤줄고기다. 인지라고.
Oh, sorry. Why is this said to be a facsimile of a direct perceiver where actually it just seems like a wrong consciousness? So why is this used as an illustration of this?
대다 럭시나 투시 미카다.
Right.
딱 점점 가려라는데 럭시데 가서는 라유라 친주 럭도 쇼고라. 라유 친주 럭시네. 답변나 가리 세고 나오더라. 가리 세고 나요 온시데라 럭시리로. 가리 럭시르스나 가리데 세고 마엠발 까고로 말이시나. 다고로 럭고쇼도 아니 딱 나야데 문에서는 가리 까고 나고 데마나버지 세고 나마 인자 아니 덴버와 제가 럭시나 주시 베스캬다.
So remember, facsimile of direct perceiver and mistaken consciousness is synonymous. So if it's a wrong consciousness, it's necessarily a mistaken consciousness, right? Not the other way around, but a wrong consciousness has to be a mistaken consciousness. And why is that? Because what you're perceiving wrongly is the color of the snow mountain, right? In this illustration. So that's a wrong perception. So it's if something's wrong, it's necessarily mistaken. And like if it's a wrong perception, it's necessarily mistaken because you're apprehending you're apprehending the object incorrectly.
Yeah.
So why are we creating two categories for the same thing? If it's a wrong consciousness and it's the same as mistaken, then what's the purpose of defining a facsimile?
So if a wrong consciousness and a mistaken consciousness are the same, why do we have this facsimile of direct perceiver? So the lokshekta and trushi chikpi, then karichini the karichini the yewa dramandra yura.
요래. 이 예와요래. 그 단다거나 로가래 찍네. 이네 아니 단다 로가래. 당보디 진전 당보디 단다 로가래. 진전 예와들라 럭시나 투시 투용으로. 투시나 럭시 파 인거 말해.
Right. The So
균제
균순
니요레스
Yeah.
균제 당보디 tonda lokshi tonda logayore tushi tonda logayore
Oh, okay. Sorry.
곧 어디 tonda de logayore
Mm-hmm.
딩에 되시 제일 적. 다 균제 니와디 lok시나 tushi 추용 거래 tu시나 lok시 파 인고 말어 되네.
So, in terms of the meaning of a mistaken consciousness and the meaning of a wrong consciousness is different.
You said there are two types of reason, you can say two reason. One reason is meaning different. Other reason is wrong conception, correct. Lokshila tushi in bikap, tushi lokshi in majala.
And then the second reason is that if something's a wrong consciousness, it's necessarily a mistaken consciousness. But if something's a mistaken consciousness, it's not necessarily wrong consciousness. So they are different.
답변은 당보디 네 lokshi tonda 가래서나 랑유라 친주 로드 쇼버래. 랑유라 친주 로드스데 베디
Lokshedi rangyola
친주
chinjilo.
로드 쇼버래. 베디 가래서 그래.
Oh, its object mistaken.
그 가르디 네 ngombo 마예신 가르 세부 마예신디 딱 가르 가오로 베디 딱 로가지라 도서마베.
So, for a wrong consciousness, it has to be chinjilo, like completely mistaken with its rangyo, its own object. Like, for example, the white snow mountain appearing as blue is just opposite to what it actually is.
다디네 디 다지 lokshi 디난 제일 터야 된 거래. 아니 추시디 랑 나유를 투베래 거래. 랑 나유라다 lokshi 디 나유 말에 주유를 투라시나 되겠다. lokshi 디 주유여로 주유. 아니 추시 디 나유를 투베래 라시나 데지 켜와 세르직도다.
So the lokshedi jugular.
진줄로도 쇼거래.
Right.
아니 추시 디 나유를 투베래.
Okay. So you could say that the essential difference is a wrong consciousness is mistaken to its object of engagement, whereas mistaken consciousness is mistaken to its in terms of its appearing object.
다 제일라지나 lokshi tonda 디 단 추시
The jugyo tang nangyo jela yongire.
용거래.
So this
주유람나 유조들 다 유조들어. 낭유라디 콜라 낭친제디 코낭유 차도 디켜와도 와다.
So this difference between this appearing object and object of engagement will come later. But you could say that for now, the object of engagement is the primary object, and the appearing object is what like appears. So it appears. But it's a bit more tricky.
That pena 이와디 lok시나 추신베 주켜바디 셰모거셔라. 추실라 lok시베 파마 잡디 아니 단다 제와체마 샤인디.
So we said that if it's a wrong consciousness, it's necessarily a mistaken consciousness, and that's valid, right? But a mistaken consciousness is not necessarily a wrong consciousness. So an example of mistaken consciousness that's not a wrong consciousness would be an inferential valid cognizer. Inferential cognizer.
제와체마 와다 제와체마디 lok시 마르와 디르와 체마 추시르와
So yeah, because it's a valid cognition, it's not a wrong consciousness, but because it's conceptual, it's a mistaken consciousness.
lok시나 체마 마인 거다. lok시나 체마 마인 거다.
Yeah, so if it's a wrong consciousness, it can't be a valid cognition.
추시딜라 체마 임바다 마인 바인가요다.
But mistaken consciousnesses have valid cognitions and non-valid cognitions both. Is that clear? Maybe. Oh, we have the chart? I don't know if I have this chart. But the definition of a mistaken consciousness will come later. Sorry, loksha, a wrong consciousness will come later. Any other questions?
Yeah.
When we were talking about the non-conceptual wrong consciousness or non-conceptual mental and sense. So
Right, sorry, did you say wrong consciousness or mistaken?
Well, that's the same thing, isn't it? We just established
Wrong consciousness mistake. We just unestablished that.
non-conceptual wrong consciousness.
Okay, non-conceptual wrong consciousness. Yep.
There were two, mental and sense.
Yep.
And the mental, Geshe gave the example of meditating on suffering, and then the environment becomes full of skeletons. And remember, this is non-conceptual, so there's no generic image involved here. And then the other example was the delusion of jealousy. Well, my question is, surely the delusion of jealousy is a conceptual thing, not a non-conceptual thing.
Oh, okay. So we talked about these non-conceptual mistaken consciousnesses, like this appearance of skeletons for the mental sense, right? There's like we talked about the appearance of skeletons, and then Geshe gave the example of jealousy and anger and these delusions, but surely they're conceptual, not non-conceptual. So konsa di togme nosam tanang, yigi togme nosam tanang, kanang di ru di kenri mangbo nangire digire hagoso. Yinang di nyonmang pena dochag tangsheta. Konsa tokpare togme mare kanicheni di togme di nosam tanang.
떡고 말해. 여자 시단도 떡고 인지 말.
Okay, so no delusion and
떡고 여와 여르다. 떡고 여와 여르다.
okay,
so
so attachment and anger are not necessarily conceptual. They have conceptual and they have non-conceptual.
더 떡고 여적으로 한다. 떡보다 여르다. 만자 떡고 인지래.
Mostly it's conceptual. We have both conceptual and non-conceptual, but mostly it's conceptual, but it's not necessarily conceptual.
Well, what's an example of it being non-conceptual?
So did togmegi like attachment?
Or either.
Yeah, okay. Togmegi dochak di senshi karere. Pedi karere.
여자가 신실해.
Yeah.
샤쇼로 답이나
Oh, sorry. What's an example of a non-conceptual attachment?
대답이나 뭐 chansin phagwe gyugi 여자 되진 도도 샤는데 chansin phagwe
Jangsim papke gyuti docha. So the attachment in the mind of an Arya Bodhisattva would be an example of that.
도도 되진 도도 샤거래. 도도 샤는데 되지.
He's not happy with that example.
Well, it's really a delusion.
I think it's well anyway. Yeah. So did nyoma marero nyoma trama nyoma none mare. So it's just it's not a real delusion if it's the mind of an Arya Bodhisattva.
이래 맨다 맨나 독이라 독 먼저 독세는 시그러
Right.
전세바고 독디 띵이 독에 맨을 주로라 저는 전세바고 이게 되자데 되나시래.
Right. So you know, it's like poison, right? Like sometimes poison can be used as a medicine, like an antidote, right? So it's the same. In the mind of an Arya Bodhisattva, those delusions are there, but they're used as medicine. They're used as, you know, wrong or mistaken. They're mistaken consciousness. No. So are they mental wrong consciousness? So the lokshere? Right. No, they're not wrong consciousness in the continuum of Mari Bodhisattva. There's possibly no wrong consciousness. Oh, okay, Lokshere. Oh, no, this is not true. You can say this innate grasping at the self. You know, we talked about the innate and the generated. This can be said to be a wrong consciousness. Yeah, it's not really clear, but I'll need to think about it a bit. Okay. Loxi di do.
되자 빼주 되자 록시 비 캡. 되자 단단
That's it. Loxi mi kya
다디 참마자 말랍 유시도 투로.
di kabaduru.
신다 저 가리라다.
Are there any other questions? Oh, we have some here. I better get on to these before we run out of time. No, oh, you writing another one? Okay. All right. Oh, it should be quite simple. It's like half a page. Okay, we got 4 or 5 questions here. Okay, is a subsequent cognizer always a mental cognizer? Chishi yina simgi chishi in bekub.
아.
Chishi yina
응.
pena notsum sema tang chishi niro. Chishi yina yigi chishi in bekub. No.
숭성무 깨진 이와 들어와.
The second moment of an eye consciousness perceiving form is a subsequent cognizer, but not a mental cognizer. What's the difference between mindfulness and self-knower? So the rangrik ni kibakariyo.
대단히 좋아요. 천만년샤라디 껍데르조 천만년샤 셔럽디 라로와 심 내자 요딘 여기 셔럽기 찾아요. 셔럽.
천만년샤 셔럽.
천만년샤 셔럽디 셔럽기 찾아요. 천만년샤라디 원해서.
So this
셔럽 땡보래.
mindfulness can be said to be discriminating wisdom. 셔럽. It's like a stable cherub or discriminating wisdom.
랑릭 사야되다 고 셔와야 세링 용예 들어와 세링 용예 된다 정말 용
Selling 년
용예 돼
So a self-knower, I think this guy translates it as a self-knower is what did you say here? Self-knower, right? Yeah. A self-knower is that which experiences this clearer knowing, the experience of this Saoshing Rigpa, this clearer knowing. So one is an experience and one is wisdom. Right. Right.
The mindfulness like the mindfulness, mindfulness like this.
Okay. This is tricky in English. Okay. So kipakari dini.
Chambayina ko ngar yu majeba chawa taganarwa. Sherab sayadi di yinda mayin namba shetum yidirwa. Di mixage.
Yin tang mayin number.
Shetum yidirwa.
Okay.
Hakutum yidirwa.
So this Trenpa in Tibetan, it is used as a kind of mindfulness, but literally Trenpa means just to recollect the object. So okay, memory and mindfulness, Trenpa and Trenpa Nisha, are quite different. So one, the memory is simply recalling the object, and the second one is saying this mindfulness is it this, is it that? It's recognizing. So this mindfulness is the result of this recollection. Memory is probably not the best. Recollection would be Trenpa recollection. So this mindfulness is wisdom, whereas just did he Trenpa shut up? Doesn't matter. Okay, but this recollection is not wisdom. From the last week, Geshe-la said that the second moment of an eye consciousness perceiving a cup and subsequent cognizers recalling the cup arise simultaneously. The first moment of the subsequent cognizer recalling. Okay. So, Haptanyama Kirang Song Santi Bumzin Mikshe Kechik Nipa Tang recollecting the Trenpa Trenpa Cheshi Kechik Tambo Dunam Yongirere. Yeah. Did I do? Yeah, that's correct.
Did you?
Took me longer to translate it than to answer it, but anyway, that's good. Okay. Is subsequent cognizer always mental? If not, is it a mental in the above example? I think we already covered this.
But in that example, where you see the first one of the subsequent cognizer that arises simultaneously with the second one of the eye consciousness.
Is that a mental cognition? So the Trimba Cheshide, Yigi
Shiba.
Yigi Shibare.
Tembe 제시대 아니 데리 가서 그래. 이
Yeah, so this subsequent cognizer recollecting the object is a mental consciousness. Yes.
템바디 금전 가래라 나라와. 템바디 똑바. 똑바이나 이용고 이미시 원시는 똑바도 써야 말 어디.
So because if it's memory, it's necessarily conceptual. If it's conceptual, it's necessarily a mental consciousness. You don't have conceptual physical direct sense perceivers. Sorry, you don't have conceptual sense perceivers. There's a lot of words going down. Anyway, last time mentioned that direct. Oh no, this is all crossed out. Last time mentioned third chapter of Valid Cognition. Which book?
Yeah, he said there was more than me. Ezra talked about mental direct valid cognizer, and then he says in the third chapter of Valid Cognition,
남들 루스바.
but we don't know which chapter, which book.
Well, Valid Cognition is the book. Yeah, that's the book.
Book name, chapter book.
The Valid Cognition. Yeah.
남들 루스바.
Yeah, the third chapter of Valid Cognition is the name of the text.
남들 루시어라. 루스바들.
Oh, so it has 4 chapters, and this is the third chapter. Can regular beings, most of us, have a glimpse of a mental direct perceiver?
This is your good example, you know. You see like that. This is good. You know.
No, I can read it here, but this is like.
I check, you know.
About
and
here.
You know, they said, and then this, and they said, how old are you? I'm 52. Oh, yeah.
Anyway.
And I thought, maybe I'm 62 and I need more closer. And he said, yes.
I need it further away. I put it here, I can't read it.
Good.
Maybe it's reversing. Anyway, I'll just do that again. Can regular beings, most of us, have a glimpse of a mental direct perceiver? The Sosokibu Nanso Draware, Yigi Nonsum Yure?
Yure. 먼저 이기 무슨 열에 먼저 딜랍성아 이수 다 나데 이와 이수 제발 학과 차지면 수요기 숭지 영어 열어
What? Sorry,
먼저 데려와 먼저 내는 디나라만 로샤이와 먼저 여기 암저 달라 차러와
right.
안 디네라 숙지메 이기 무슨 열어 디나라만 열어 속 나와체 딘도가 나 무슨도 기회 나라만 열어 숨지 무슨으로 와대 숨지 용어도 기회 나라만 열어요 어디
Zogsin, you know.
숨지 용어도 기회 나라만 열어요 기승대
So this form appearing to the mental consciousness but it not being apprehended this exists in ordinary beings. This is an example of a mental direct cognizer.
딜러다데 이 단념을 하고 쳐야 수주주의 순수 엉어들입니다. 대마대. 순수 단데 영어로 샤고라.
Mental direct perceiver. Where was that? That's a sema. 이는 이기 난좀 sema 요 말해요.
무슨 테마 수주를 열어 먼저 신에 좀 열어.
나 신에면 디 소스 난소 저어요.
네 신에 맞으면 여기 말이다. 가고래.
Okay. So it's possible to have a mental direct perceiver, but it's not possible to have a mental direct prime cognizer before you realize karma abiding. So ordinary beings, like people who have karma binding, still said to be ordinary beings, but yeah, we're very kind of caught up in our conceptualizations. Like a cage. So we're bound up in this cage of conceptualization. That's what it says that very clearly in this valid cognition. So, when we, to give an example, right, like when we look at something with our eyes, we see the cup directly. But when we close our eyes and recollect an object, it's all this conceptualization, very conceptual, generic images and conceptualization, and is it that, is it this, and this, that. So it's very conceptual. So there's a lot of doubt in there. Because we can't perceive directly with this. So it's clear. Is this okay? Everything happy? Everybody happy?
Little bit hard, isn't it? It's good. good your antidote for your ego, Very good antidote for your ego, ego antidote. Ego antidote.
So page 31. O sa shi puki chuk shi me tok cham ri rab ling shi ni de gen pa di sang ke shing du mi te u a ki toku nam tak shing la cho pa shok jitsun la me ku te rab ten ching nam ka chin le chuk chu ge pa da lo sang ten pe jo me sa sum gi jo we mun sa tak tu ne gyu chik Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Niryatayami. Due to the merit of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of a Guru Buddha and lead all living beings without exception into that enlightened state. May the supreme jewel bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish, but increase more and more. Whatever slight positive potential I may have created, by paying homage, offering, and acknowledging my faults, rejoicing and requesting that the Buddhist I now dedicate all this for full awakening. I dedicate all these roots of virtue with the dedication praised as the best, by the victorious ones thus gone of the 3 times, so that I might perform the noble Bodhisattva's deeds. May the King of Dharma Tsongkhapa's way of Dharma practice flourish. May the omens of obstacles be pacified, and all the conducive circumstances be complete. The wish-granting, wish-fulfilling jewel, source of every single benefit and happiness in this world, to the incomparably kind Tenzin Gyatso I beseech, may all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. Saviour of the snowland teachings and transmigratory beings, who makes extremely clear the path that is unification of emptiness and compassion, to the lotus holder Tenzin Gyatso I beseech, may all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. You who uphold the subduer's moral way, who serve as the bountiful bearer of all, sustaining, preserving, and spreading Manjanath's victorious doctrine, who masterfully accomplish magnificent prayers honoring the 3 jewels, Saviour of myself and others, your disciples, please, please live long. By relying on the 2 accumulations of myself and others in the 3 times, may the teachings of the conqueror Losang Dragpa blaze for a long time.